So a couple of weeks ago, I did a demo of the BOSS PS6. I went to Steve's Music in Montreal, picked one up after a buddy of mine online said, Jeremy, you got to check out this stomp box. It creates that Eddie Van Halen 90's tone, the For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge balance kind of thing. Gives that like DETUNE sound. I was like, all right. So I called my buddy Jason at Steve's Music. You got one? Got one on the floor. All right, give me a deal. Gave me a great deal. So stevesmusic.com if you want to get one, worldwide shipping. So I pick it up, and I got home, and I plugged it into my 5153. Now, the weird thing is that it did have that sound. Like, okay, here's a clip of the video, the original one. Direct to Pro Tools with a little bit of delay inside of Pro Tools is what it sounds like. So it does have that sound to it, but it's not as wide or as deep as I was expecting it to sound. And I was running it straight like mono, like guitar, pedal, into the amp. And, I mean, it still sounded good. It still sounded great. So I posted the video, and everybody was commenting, saying, oh, you know, you need to run it stereo. You need to do it stereo. And I'm like, okay. And then I went down the rabbit hole of wet, dry, wet. So to give you, if you're not familiar with the Eddie Van Halen, and watching this you probably do know, but I'll talk about it anyway. So back in the late 80s, Eddie Van Halen was one of the first guitar players to innovate this, I guess, rig style where you could do a wet, dry, wet setup. So the guitar cabinet in the middle is dry. You're just dry, straightforward guitar sound. And then you would have a left and right speaker cabinet running your wet tone. So there you would have your delays and stuff like that. And Eddie Van Halen's delay sound actually, it wasn't so much like delay. It was almost like they were set a certain way to create almost like a reverb kind of sound. So he didn't use reverb, but it's hard to explain, but when you hear it, it's just, there's a lot of repeats and like, it's different times on each side, so it creates this like spacious kind of effect to it, and it's really interesting. So I've kind of recreated that tone now. So I went and got myself a third 5153 cabinet to match the two that I have. Then I realized I don't actually have a power amp to do those, to do the wet, dry, wet, because I only have one amp, okay? So I've talked to a couple of buddies of mine figuring this out, and I was talking to Steve Stevens, actually, buddy of mine, guitarist for Billy Idol. I have a Palmer speaker simulator. It's this thing, okay? So I got it when I was first building my home studio, and I thought to myself, because it's so weird, because sometimes things can be super confusing for no reason. So I was trying to decide whether I could take the audio out of the Palmer and then go into the PS6, out of that into two delay pedals. Or is it gonna blow up? So on the back of the Palmer, you got two outputs, okay? So you've got your mic out, which goes into, you know, your interface, or whatever you're recording to, if you're recording the tape, whatever. That's your out. And then you also have the option for a 1/4 inch output. But I wasn't sure if by using both of them at the same time, one would cancel the other one out, and it didn't. So I took the line, hold on a second, sorry, don't mistake that. I took the 1/4 inch out of the Palmer, and I went into the PS6. Now, the other thing that was confusing to me, I was talking to engineers at the radio station, and everybody like trying to figure this out. On the back of the Palmer speaker simulator, there's actually 4 line outs with a designated volume knob on the front of the Palmer. So I was confused whether or not, like, if I took the line out, is that the same thing as taking... It was just so confusing. So finally, I just decided, you know what? Screw it. If it blows up, I'll get it fixed. But it didn't. So what I did was, I took the XLR out of the Palmer, went into my interface in the back, and then I took the 1/4 inch out of the Palmer and went into the BOSS PS6. From the BOSS PS6, I went stereo left and right into 2 inputs on my interface. So I got my dry, just straightforward guitar tone in the center, and then I've got stereo left and right guitars, and then in Pro Tools, I'm processing it using H delay. So one side is actually, hold on. One side delay is at 798 milliseconds. And the second delay is at 398. So 798 on one side, 398 on the other. And I think that this is as close as you're gonna get to Eddie Van Halen 90's tone. This sounds ridiculous. How awesome does that sound? Alright, so let's play a tune. I hopped on my drum kit. Let's play around with this. that's the BOSS PS6. It's really good. It's freaking awesome. There it is. That's the box. If you're looking for that Eddie Van Halen DETUNE sound, highly recommend you pick it up. Sounds awesome. Make sure you like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.